Welcome to the Education Corner, a podcast by Education Choices magazine.
Education Corner podcast would like to welcome Mrs. Natalie Argile, head of Blackheath High School GDST. Blackheath High School is a part of the GDST group and is an independent day school for girls aged 3 to 18 years old. Applications are welcomed from girls and families who are seeking an environment where students aim high, individuality is prized, and girls have an excellent approach to learning. They describe themselves as a school where girls boldly go, taking pride in the all-girls setting and encouraging and equipping them to succeed in whatever field they desire. Natalie joined Blackheath High School as an assistant head in 2015 and became head in 2023. Natalie has previously worked at girls' schools and grammar schools and has a passion for girls' education, saying, "Every day I look forward to walking into the building and leave feeling proud of our girls and what they achieve every single day without fail."
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Firstly, could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about how you came to your role at Blackheath High School, which is a member of the Girls' Day School Trust group?
Yeah, so I started teaching about 20 years ago and started predominantly in state schools as a science teacher, and I became really interested in teaching and learning, and I knew from quite early on in my career that I wanted to go into senior leadership. There was something about driving change, and I just loved working with young people. I could see really firsthand the difference it made teaching only girls when I worked in one of the grammar schools where I was teaching girls from year 7 through to year 11, but then boys in the sixth form, and just moving between the classes. So, for example, GCSE years into A-level years, I could really feel the dynamics change in the classroom when boys were introduced. And I absolutely have loved teaching boys, and have a son and my daughter myself, and I'm really interested in all forms of education. But I just felt particularly aligned to girls only, and I felt like it really spoke to my values for what I want for my daughter. I saw a role come up at Blackheath High School and thought, I loved everything about it. I loved the vision of the school. I loved the people when I came here, and it felt like an absolute dream come true. And I really genuinely mean it when I say I love coming into the building every day. I do leave feeling like I've achieved something. And I think the point at which the headship came up, I felt really ready for it, because within the senior leadership roles that I held at Blackheath, I had such varied portfolios. So it wasn't just looking at teaching and learning. I was, engaging in research. I was, working directly with students. I was working with staff, and I just really loved everything that it entailed. So that brought me to where I am now as the head, moving into my third year and still really loving it.
One of the key pillars of your vision for the school is described as delivering an inspiring and ambitious education that is designed specifically for girls. As part of this, you have introduced the Girl Empowered programme, designed to inspire your pupils to become the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers. Could you tell us more about that programme and what it involves?
Definitely. I mean, one of the other things I should mention that attracted me to Blackheath High School is the fact that it's an all-through school. So we go from age 3 through to 18. And Girl Empowered is about really supporting the girls on that journey. And I think of an education as a journey from nursery through to year 13. The Girl Empowered programme is about ensuring that the girls not only have knowledge. Knowledge is really important. Of course it is. We've always, been at school to receive knowledge. But the skills are what I think are more important, actually. And that's what takes the girls' knowledge. It's what takes their ambition, and it's what propels them into the places that they want to go. The Girl Empowered programme was designed to ensure that when the girls leave school, no matter what year they're in currently, but when they leave school, they've got the skills to enable them to not just surviving, but actually really thriving in the world. And so the programme is designed Well, to take you back to its roots, actually, what we did was we looked at what the skills were that girls needed specifically, and that's why the girl part of the Girl Empowered is so important. We know that girls and boys need different things in the workplace. We know that they have different, skills. We know that they have different journeys. We wanted to audit everything that we did in our curriculum really carefully. We broke it down by year group from age 3 up to 18. We looked at what we were doing, where we were doing it, who was delivering it, how we were delivering it. Are we actually delivering for the skills that the girls need? So we looked at the GDST research, the Futures Report. We looked at the World Economic Forum and the skills that young people need today for a world that they're entering that is going to be quite different to the one when they started at school. So that has informed our programs, such as our enrichment programs with leadership and enterprise, our civil discourse program, which teaches girls how to voice their opinions and how to disagree well. It runs through to financial acumen, which, in the junior school might be actually understanding what physical money is, in nursery, through to understanding how girls are going to be affected by interest rate changes, and also what they need to be able to be financially independent, which again is really important for women. But it also comes through in our scholarship programs for sport, music, art, drama. It comes through in the speakers that we have coming in to speak to them at all levels, down to our community programs, which our girls are involved with at many different levels throughout school. So what we want to do is not just sort of give lip service to these skills, but we actually want to say, no, we are teaching them how to do this at this point of their journey, and we revisit it again so that when they leave, they've got the best chance of being confident in all the skills that they need.
On my recent visit to Blackheath High School, I also visited the junior school. One of the things that really hits you as you're walking around is the very diverse community that you have. There's children from every different background celebrating who they are and their individuality. Would you like to tell our listeners a little bit more about this inclusive environment that you're offering at Blackheath High School?
Yeah, of course. And this is actually one of the things that did attract me to Blackheath High School when I first came to have a look around the school myself. And it certainly brings a really wonderful, diverse approach of thinking as well, from both staff and students. We speak over 50 different languages at Blackheath High School across both of our junior and our senior school. And it's something that our students and staff are incredibly proud of. And I'm really pleased that you were able to see that when you came into our school. We have an incredibly active group of students in our diversity and inclusion council, and so the school is very much influenced by the students. The student voice is really important to us because it's their school, and I'm really pleased that what we do in terms of ensuring a really diverse and inclusive culture has resulted quite recently in 2 really wide surveys with over 90% of both staff and students saying that they felt like they belonged at school. And that statistic to me really shows that we're doing something right. It's really reflective, I think, our school of the locality of Southeast London, and of having quite an international cohort. And again, that's both staff and students. And I think there can only be benefits from that.
You have also recently introduced new GCSE subjects, including astronomy at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, which when I visited recently, you were talking about. One student described the opportunities at your school as the opportunities on offer to students at Blackheath High never cease to amaze me. How have your students benefited from and responded to this unique opportunity and the wide range of subjects that you're offering?
Oh, it's lovely to hear that quote from a student. So, I mean, the astronomy GCSE has actually run for a number of years. That's been well over 10 years now. So that's a really established program. But what we wanted to do was to introduce programs to ensure that all different girls across the school have these different pathways, because we recognize that they're not all the same. They don't have the same interests, of course, and they've responded really well. So, for example, our most recent introductions, have been GCSE psychology, which is quite heavily oversubscribed and competitive, and also our statistics. So our psychology students are on our sort of first wave through. They just started last year. And additionally, our statistics. So to give you an idea of how they're engaging with it, the first cohort who went through the GCSE statistics, which is a GCSE they do in addition to their maths GCSE, all of them achieved a grade 7 to 9, despite the fact they did it a year early, and actually 75% of them achieved the very top grade of a grade 9. So they're not just choosing the subject, but they're engaging really well with them. And what I really love about it is they are grabbing the opportunity with both hands and putting everything they've got into it, which is exactly what we want from our girls. Not every course will be for every girl, and that's absolutely fine. We don't want to turn out carbon copies of each other. So the fact that they're engaging and they're curious about learning is a really big part of why we design it in this way.
And later this year, you're launching your Power Skills Toolkit. On your website, it describes the goal as the world becomes increasingly influenced by AI and technological advancements. It is also important to equip our future female leaders with the most up-to-date skills and technological knowledge to confidently enter the future job market and achieve their full potential. Could you tell us more about how you are teaching it and incorporating technology such as AI at Blackheath, and how this new scheme will help prepare your students for the future of technology and work?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously vitally important that we make sure we get this right, because it's going to be such a big part of their world, increasingly so going forward. One of the great things about working in education is that it's always changing. So I like to take these challenges and we like to respond to them. AI is something we've been thinking about at Blackheath High for a number of years. This isn't new to us, but obviously the rate at which it's changing means that the girls are interacting with it more day to day. I recently spoke to the girls in an assembly about how AI can influence you from almost the moment you get out of bed, and your journey to school and what you hear when you're at school and how you're learning. So it's very much here. Everything we want to do is done by design at Blackheath. So we design our curriculum with this in mind, and we ensure that these skills are part of our power skills. So things like critical thinking, for example, we teach critical thinking all the way through our junior school, so that it's the norm for the girls, so that they know how to question things, they know how to challenge, they know how to pick out what's real from what's fake, and to make really informed decisions, and also to be able to make their own decisions and not have people make decisions for them, which of course, if used incorrectly, artificial intelligence can do. But we want to be pioneering with the girls, and so two examples of this recently have been, we held a conference for teachers across the GDST on the subject of AI, but not just AI. It was AI through the lens of a girl, because it really is different through girls' eyes, and girls will be impacted differently from how boys might be, and of course in some ways they'll be impacted the same. So we're looking at, for example, how girls are affected by AI through social media, but also examining the lack of female representation in the development of AI. Because if it's disproportionately men who are designing AI, then we're of course by default designing a world through the eyes of men, and that's not a world that will benefit girls. So it's not just about educating the girls, but educating future leaders and teachers, so that these conversations are happening in the classroom. We are members of the GDST AI committee. Our teachers are developing policies together. We use different review tools. We talk to the girls about how we do this, so that nothing's a surprise to them. We support AI meaningfully, I would say, and safely in the classroom. But we talk massively to girls about the benefits of AI. We recently held a conference for every single one of our year 10 to 13 students to attend. It was on gaming and artificial intelligence, and we had speakers from all walks of life and all different backgrounds, again to encourage the girls to come in to be part of the future of AI. So we heard from people with degrees in French, psychology, not just the typical sort of computer science and maths. But even if that's not a route they want to go down, to know how the industry works. And to hear from lots of inspiring people. We're also launching the GDST Space Technology Programme at Blackheath. So it's a well-established programme, but it's something that we're working with from next year. So creating these opportunities for girls to not just talk about it, but actually get involved with it.
Technology is also an important part of students' well-being, with an NHS survey reporting that young women are almost twice as likely to report having been bullied online than men, and 19.5% compared with 11.3%, and less likely to agree that they felt safe using social media than men. So the statistics on that would be 48.6% compared with 65.9%. How do you encourage students to use technology and social media in a safe and healthy way and support their well-being across the school?
They are worrying statistics. And so, again, that's the great thing about being in girls' education, is that we, again, can look at it through the eyes of girl. I think education is the most important thing. So, we can't deny that girls will be engaging with social media from, younger and younger ages now, it seems. We want them to do it safely. I want the girls to be doing it from a point which is age appropriate, and that's different for different platforms. So, it's lots of strands that have to come together to make sure you're creating a healthy approach towards social media with girls. In school, we actually were very early adopters of Yonder pouches. So girls don't actually have their phones on them in school, and it's great to see them actually, we've never had phones in school, but it's great to see them engaging with it. And actually, I think they quite like having a little bit of a break from it sometimes as well, their phones. But we do a lot of education. So we talk about it frequently in assemblies, not just, the bad side of social media. We talk about the good and the bad. I think it's really important that they understand the whole picture whenever we talk to them about anything. We also educate them on practical levels as well as more philosophical levels. So one of the best ways of doing that, of course, is having our older girls speak to our younger girls. So we do that throughout the school. We again talk to them about what is typical and what is for social media, getting them to understand, that you're seeing what people want you to see on social media. One of the best ways of doing this is through conversation. So by creating a classroom environment where girls feel safe enough to talk about the things they see, and the things they hear, we're able to tackle quite a lot. So we just ensure that we've got the best teachers in the classroom who are equipped and trained to have these conversations, who feel able to have them, and that they are proactive in asking the difficult questions with the girls. And we're really lucky that the environment that we have, the girls do respond really well to us. We also think it's really important to work with parents with regards to social media. A recent session that we ran online with Dr. Cathy Weston from Tooled Up Education was focused on the use of social media and the impact on girls' mental health. So again, we were able to look at it from a girl's perspective and give really practical advice to parents, making sure they're aware of where they should be looking for advice on which areas of social media is appropriate and what's not. How do you practically limit screen time, which I know is a really difficult thing for parents of teenagers to do. And I'm not looking forward to the teenage years of being a parent myself. So anything that we can do practically, I think, is really important, because social media is evolving so much. It's really difficult for parents to keep up with, I think. So working with experts is great, because it gives us more certainty, I suppose, over the advice that we're giving. These are decisions for parents to make about, phones and social media, but we very much want to be part of the discussion with them, because even if social media, if the girls are seeing social media outside of school, these are conversations that are very much coming into school, and we need to be ready for them, and we need to know the types of conversations that they're having.
And student leadership is also an important part of life at Blackheath High School, and you encourage students across the school to take active roles in their class and the wider school community. How do you incorporate student leadership and voice across the school, and how do your pupils benefit from taking these roles and having their voices represented through their peers. I have to say, when I came in, I was particularly impressed by even the junior school girls who had such a clear voice about their schools that obviously filters then through to the older girls.
Student leadership is so incredibly important to me, and it's not about running small initiatives here or there. It's about really embedding it in everything that you do, and embedding it in the culture and the ethos of the school. And that's why it's so important to me to make sure it's happening all the way through the school, and that the girls do know how to use their voice. I think what we've done with student leadership is we've built up a program that grows as the girls grow, and it creates lots of opportunities, not just for a select few. We have all this the typical opportunities that you might expect. So, for example, student council is very active, and head student team and so on. But we also build leadership into our curriculum. So, for example, this might be through our enrichment program, and it could be about the civil discourse sort of course that I talked about before, which is teaching the girls how to use their voice. It's teaching them how to disagree well. But it might also be in the enterprise programs that they're running through the junior school, also into year 8, that's run by our head of student leadership. And, it then runs all the way through to year 12 and 13, where they're part of the lead program as well. Leadership for me is not just about those who want to, be the leader and sit on the board of a FTSE 500 company. It's about leadership in lots of different environments. It's about girls being an advocate for themselves. It's about them driving change, whether that's for a huge company like Google, or that's for a small startup, or it's for driving change through a particular area that they want to do through writing a book. It's about having confidence to be themselves. It's about having confidence to make things happen for either themselves or on a huge scale, or for other people. That could be the quietest girl in the room, or it could be one of the loudest. It really doesn't matter. But what's important is that these opportunities are created at every level, and that girls have a chance to practice this. They don't have to be polished in year 3 or in year 7 or in year 12. And, they don't even have to be polished in year 13, but they're very much well on their way to having all these skills that leaders need.
You also have a very dedicated futures team and offer many opportunities for pupils to develop skills for the future, including the GDST lead programme in partnership with LSE. This is particularly significant as the GDST Girls Future Report found that 26% of girls feel like they cannot take part in certain pathways because of their gender. Could you tell us more about this programme and how your pupils benefit?
Well, that's exactly why we have this programme, because 26% is, quite frankly, far too high. And one of the great things about being part of a GDST school is the opportunities that come with the GDST and having such a shared vision. So I'm so delighted that at Blackheath we are able to offer this. It's an advanced diploma, as you mentioned, with the London School of Economics. And it's an opportunity really for girls to engage in a whole host of opportunities to hone these skills in leadership, but also to do so with people who are at the absolute top of their game, and also with girls from other schools, from other GDST schools. So it's a brilliant first step in networking from them, which of course we know is a really important part of leadership. So the girls are actually assigned mentors from LSE, they work in small groups, and it's an enterprise program really, where they're designing a sustainable business, sustainability being another really important thread that runs through Blackheath High School education. They have lessons on leadership, they attend events. It's really lovely for them to go out and not just network with girls their own age, but actually adults, and it's one of the first kind of steps of them being out in the world of business, if you like. And again, even if they don't want to go into the world of business, it's about boosting their confidence and actually just having a space to grow their ideas and actually bring them to fruition. So again, it's the not just talking about it, it's the doing it that's really great about this particular programme.
And as part of the GDST, you have access to a network of over 100,000 members across the country and internationally in your kind of alumni network. How are the pupils able and encouraged to draw on these connections, and how do they benefit from them?
So lots of opportunities. So as you said, over 100,000 alumni, and they're in all corners of the world. So, you know, it's not just for the Blackheath alumni, but GDST, of course. Our girls benefit regularly from our speakers coming in. So, for example, at our sustainability conference last year, Professor Natasha Radcliffe-Thomas, who is very prominent in fashion sustainability, for example, was able to come in and speak to the girls about what her role is, not just from a point of view of sustainability, but also from fashion, which is something that our girls are really interested in, and but also from being part of the world of academia and all that she does there. And it ranges from very well established people to our more recent alumni, like Kenya, who came in recently to talk to the girls about her apprenticeship and how to gain an apprenticeship, which she went out and demonstrated all these skills that she's learned at Blackheath by securing her own role within the diversity and inclusion department at Warner Brothers just this year. So it's been able to reach out and pull girls in from all stages of their life, really. Next week we have actually not an alumna herself, but a parent of an alumna who's in her 90s now, and she's come to talk to us about her career. So we really do bring girls in from all sort of parts of life. We also can connect them on a one-to-one level as well. So if we have girls who are looking to go and study a particularly unique course at a particularly competitive university, then we can reach out to that alumni of 100,000, because it's highly likely that there's someone who's been on the same path before and can impart that wisdom and tips and so on. But also our alumni make up lots of different sort of groups within the GDST. For example, our overseas candidates for university from Blackheath, we can reach out to people who have attended those universities in the States, for example, and so that's really beneficial. We always find that GDST alumni are very willing to mentor our students because they've very much been in their shoes before, and there's that connection. It's sort of like the sort of big sister, little sister connection that we have in school. It's almost just expanding that into the world of work. So it's really, there's lots of things that we can do regularly, but there's also things that we can do off the cuff and bespoke. And obviously being at the school for 10 years has its benefits, because I've seen a lot of girls come through that I know personally, and I know when I pick up the phone, they're always very willing to support.
In this edition, we are particularly interested in Oxbridge admissions, an area in which you're very successful in, with many of your pupils receiving offers from top universities, including Oxford and Cambridge. Could you tell us more about how you support the university application process, and particularly girls who might like to try the Oxbridge examinations?
One of the great things that we do is we take all of our year 10s actually to Cambridge University, and we take them there to show them what it looks like to study at a world-class institution. So even if it's not Cambridge they want to go to, they can see what the standards are like, and also just get some thinking about university, because when they get to year 10, that's where their heads start to go. Some of our scholars, when they come in year 7, join Cafe Society, and Cafe Society is a space where some of the girls who might go on to apply for Oxford and Cambridge come together and talk about all sorts of issues. We put a real focus on the critical thinking that I mentioned before, and having really quite high level conversations for their age group. And it really is an opportunity for them to get involved in projects. They work with some of the older scholars and really get them into that mindset of reading beyond what's happening in their lessons. Because if you're applying to the most competitive universities, that's what you really need to be doing. So you can't just be preparing a month or two before you are making that application, but it needs to be your normal way of working. That's also supported by our academic stretch and challenge booklets. So we look to have our girls stretch themselves beyond their lessons, during the holidays if they wish to, although we also advocate for them taking a break and having a rest. But there are girls who want to go above and beyond regularly, and we push them to do so. And that might be in maths, it might be in art, it could be in sport. So whatever their passions are, we want them to be going beyond the normal sort of way of thinking. But we also run several workshops. So for example, through GDST, we have our Oxbridge weekend, which we hold at Oxford, and our head of sixth form is involved in delivering as part of that. And we start the competitive admissions programme in year 10, so that the girls are receiving the advice that they need from, around their exams. We don't want them, as I said, we don't want them just to be coming to this in year 12. And also, as part of the Oxbridge programme, we will connect them with former Oxbridge or current Oxbridge students to find out what it's really like to be a student at one of the top institutions in the world.
Just going on from that, you're obviously doing incredibly well. The girls are doing incredibly well. But what are your hopes and plans for the future of Blackheath High School as a part of the GDST group?
Well, so much on the horizon for Blackheath High School. It's really exciting that we're coming to the final year of our 3-year vision, and it's been a brilliant journey. And what our vision has allowed us to do is put a spotlight really on some of the areas that we wanted to develop further. And I'm so pleased with the progress that we've made on that. So it's exciting to think that we'll be sort of coming to a close on some of those and opening up the path for a whole new wave coming through. It's not to say that we will be stopping working on the things that we have been. The future for us is constantly innovating what we're doing. It's constantly being at the forefront. It's engaging with research, which is what we're doing continuously, and what we'll be doing more of actually next year. We're putting more resource into that. So being at the forefront of girls' education, being experts in girls' education, and all that brings to make sure ultimately that we have really happy girls who are academically challenged, and really prepared for a life, as I mentioned, way beyond year 13. Everything that we will be doing with our next vision is about getting the girls really to lead their own lives ambitiously, and of course boldly, which is what we do here at Blackheath High School.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's been so lovely to speak to you.
And you, thank you. It's been lovely to talk about Blackheath High School. It's one of my favourite things to do.